Hey, what's up, and welcome back to the channel. So, I've said quite a few times here and there that I don't believe in free will. I would classify myself as a determinist, but I've only spoken about it in bits throughout my video. I've never actually gone on, I guess, more full length as to why I believe that free will doesn't actually exist. So, with this video, I'm just going to try my best to explain as much as possible why I don't think that free will is legitimately a thing. So the first thing that comes to mind is essentially the quote by Schopenhauer that's, oh, you can do whatever you want, but you can't want whatever you want. Or there's plenty of different variations that are, more or less the same, like, oh, you can do what you will, but you can't will what you will, quote unquote. So what is it that we learn from this? I think if we take this into consideration, our desires are not really our desires. And if I'm remembering correctly, this would be more so a form of psychological determinism, I believe, which we only do the things that we feel are, our strongest desire, our strongest, like, will, so to speak. But nobody gets to decide what that is. Essentially, the only thing that you can do in this world are things that are wired within, your brain chemistry and all of that within biology and nature and whatnot. And if you watch my video about eliminative materialism, I actually go as far as to say I don't necessarily believe that consciousness is actually a thing. That's why I think the discussion about it is so vague and arbitrary because there isn't actually a clear definition of what it means to be conscious. So in that, there's a lot of talk about, okay, qualia and subjective experiences. I quite simply have said that, okay, these aren't really like our choices to make. Because even your subjective opinions that you feel are more personal to you, like, oh, I like this ice cream flavor more than that one. It's just what happens when coincidentally the chemicals in your brain operate to make you enjoy a particular sort of thing. So these are not really conscious decisions that you make, more like recognition of the chemicals that are firing in your head. And back again about the Schopenhauer quote about, yes, you can do what you want, but you can't want what you want. I guess an example that I would use as for that, because I'm remembering a conversation I had with some friends explaining why I didn't believe in free will. And I basically put it along the lines of this. And yeah, pretty much it speaks for like the whole universe in terms of how there's no actual choice for anything. So on the surface, I might quote unquote have the free will to either raise my right or my left hand. If you leave it at that, it doesn't mean much. But essentially, where does it come from that I can only raise my right or my left hand? It can only be the right or the left, whichever one I choose to do right now, or I can do both. But notice how I'm aware of these options. I don't get to decide what these options are. So I can be aware of my highest, strongest desire, but I don't choose my highest, strongest desire. It is just, okay, this is the programming. I raise my right or my left hand, or I raise both of them at the same time. I'm not going to be able to raise, let's say, a third arm, third hand. I don't have one. I only have two arms, two hands, basically. So when you consider the totality of the choices that you can make in the universe, there's even a form of determinism I think is called logical determinism, where essentially, even if you don't know the decisions that are going to happen, we still do in a manner of like probability. So tomorrow I'll either hang out with Chris or I won't hang out with Chris. Even if you don't know which one I'm going to do, you only know strictly that I either will or will not hang out with him. So there is a lot of predictability in the universe, despite what we may not know on the surface. So nothing supernatural involved, nothing, yeah. So essentially, we are not free agents. The only way I can conceive that we do have free will is if you argue that, okay, perhaps we have the illusion of free will. I definitely wouldn't deny the illusion of free will, but free will itself is, you know, like not something comprehensible whatsoever. And if you remember back about my video on like eliminative materialism, I even mentioned how language itself is a limitation in which the concepts that you understand are only limited by this language because what would you be even going through in your thinking process if you weren't socialized to speak the language that you do because of the external environmental reasons that you speak whatever language depending on wherever it is you're from and the language that everybody else around you quote unquote speaks and stuff. So yeah, like French as a language of love, quote unquote. I assume there's plenty of expressions for, romance because the language deemed it important, quote unquote. But even if you learn as much languages as you do, again, they're not something they aren't and like it wouldn't be anything that's innate to you, so that's why I think it's a very hard thing to imagine what would your thoughts be without without the notion of like verbal language, because our expression, everything is through this verbal language that we go through. So therefore it's just tricks and illusions everywhere, and we're all just going to die. So we're just this process of distraction up until then. And it's just random stuff, random chemicals, atoms, whatever you want to call it. They're all just slapping here and there together up until it, like, dies on itself, up until we die, up until the sun explodes and just, kills everything on Earth and no more species at all whatsoever. So all of this is pretty set out. The only reason we think we have free will is just an unnecessary need for idealization because humans are we're so full of ourselves to think that there has to be something more when this is what it is. The universe is indifferent to you and it does not give a shit about you, and we make stuff up as we go along. So I guess that's what I'll say for now.